Okay, so what we'll do is we have to download the Splunk. For that, you have to go to splunk.com, okay, and download Splunk for free. Click on this particular link, whichever you see at the top, and after going through there, anywhere here, okay, it'll ask for you for registering something, okay. You try to register. I'll try to log in, okay. Okay, so you'll get something like this after creating your own account. Any one of these, whichever it is relevant for you. If it is a Windows server which you installed on your machine, you use this or Windows 10 or anything, just click on the download link. And it will be like normal installation process where it asks for you to just to provide all those details. Once after clicking next, it asks for you some entry use. I mean, like creating your own local username and password. In the sense, the same kind of thing which I have used, like Arboya, this kind of account it will ask while you're installing. It will ask for you to create one account. You create that account as well while installing. Okay. Then after installing, use localhost 8000. Just click enter. You will get this particular window after successfully installing. Okay. If you are facing any issue, go to services. Just click on services. Okay. Just click on services. If you would have installed Splunk by that time, you'll get this. If it is stopped, just right click Splunk D service and click start. Okay, that's enough. Okay, if you get page not found error, okay, then you just log in with whatever the username password you created while installing, not while creating the user account, but while installing whatever you have uh, used, right? The same thing you have to use it. Okay, so this is about the Splunk thing, how you have to install it. But you'll get a lot of material in the internet. But I suggest you don't see anything. Just install it on your own so that you'll get the clarity on that. Okay. So now you might not find any of these apps not required for you guys. Okay. So just you will see something like this. Search and reporting one app will be there. Just click on that and you will get to this screen. So to work with Splunk, first of all, why you are using the Splunk? Okay, Splunk is a analytical tool. Okay, companies what they do is you have so many networking and security devices in place, and they are doing their own job. Okay, and also you have so many application servers. But what's the main problem with every one of that system is in an organization at the management level, they would like to know that all their operations are working fine, and everyone is doing their job. To keep an eye on them, okay, so you need to have some kind of tools in place. Okay. So among them, Splunk is also one among the tool which helps you in knowing the current status of different machines. How it is possible? Because we are collecting the logs of each and every machine in your organization and forwarding them to this particular software called as Splunk. Okay, so what is required for any system which is there in your organization to work like a what is analytical tool means, first of all you have to send the logs from that machine to your Splunk. This Splunk usually they'll be installing in some remote location. Say for example, let me try to connect my uh, cable where it is. Let me get that cable here. Yeah, let me connect this cable first. So that, yeah, okay. So paint. Okay. So guys, for any system, say first of all, we have already discussed about few things in previous classes. In any organization, it has to be connected to the internet if it has to do some business. Okay. From there, the entry point into any organization is a router. From there, where it will go? It will go to the firewall, because router is a device which doesn't even look into what is this data. It is a routing device, means the traffic is reaching into my organization is belongs to me or not, that only it will check. It is not a security device, it is a routing device. Like you have a router at your home, it is just like for you to communicate with the external world, to connect to the internet. Okay, you need to have this particular router, that's it. It is not a security device. But you don't let all the traffic that is coming from external world entering into your organization, and the traffic that is from the external world, uh, how it is stopping, I mean like how it is coming from the internal. Also there is lot of traffic that is going out also. So to keep monitoring, we should monitor, okay, incoming and outgoing traffic using firewall. Okay, so this particular portion, okay, all the incoming traffic that is coming through, okay, will be incoming means from external world, external. Okay, this is internet. From internet, if someone is trying, so many people will be connected, right? So they are trying to reach you into your organization. Some web server is here. Guys, I'm repeating this again and again because you have to remember this architecture at any cost. Okay, so it is connected to the switch, and it is connected to something like this. Okay, and there is one more uh, what do you say, this is one more network where one more switch is there, and so many devices are connected to it. One device, one more device, one more device, one more device. Okay, okay, so these, and this might be like your one more switch which is connected to your like normal people like you and me who are sitting in the office are working. Okay, so from the external world, okay, someone is trying to enter from the internal. This is also internal, internal, this is also internal. Okay, all these things are internal. In these internal, okay, or from external, if the traffic is coming in or if it is going out, will be monitored using the rules. What are these rules? Firewall rules. Okay, these firewall rules are of two types. Okay, the first one is inbound rules, second one is outbound rules. Okay, inbound rules, that tells that, okay, from external to internal, okay, to our system, web server or someone they are trying to communicate, okay, whether that particular service to be allowed or not, from external to internal, okay, that particular service is allowed or not. Remember, whenever I say service, it is nothing but related to the ports, which is related to port numbers. Okay, so the port numbers are like 0 to 65,536 ports you have. Okay, 65,536 ports you have. Okay, same way those ports are of two types. One is TCP port and another one is you will have UDP ports. Okay, remember, like port 1, port 2, port 3, like this we have, right? Port 80 is for what? Port 80 is for what? Anyone? Okay. Port 443 is for what? Okay. Port 53 is for what? Okay. Like that. Port 20 and 21. 20 is FTP, which is data. 21 is for control. Control means like establishing the connection and all. 22 is 23 is 25 is correct, right? 445 is SMB. I told you guys. 143 is net bias. Okay. So many port numbers I have actually we have discussed earlier. Just remember those ports. Very important. Top 1024 you have some important ports are there, like maybe 15 or 20. All the time being a security engineer you have to remember them. Okay, before you go for an interview they will definitely ask this question. Okay, in these ports, okay, in out of where it is, okay, out of these ports incoming, okay, which ports we have enabled, which ports we have enabled, that is important. Okay, if we are enabled means remaining all are blocked. Okay, which UDP ports we have enabled, which TCP ports we have enabled. DNS works on which which protocol? TCP or UDP? By default, by default it is a UDP port. Okay, so port 53 here, if you are allowing any person in your organization to communicate, I mean from someone externally, if they are trying to reach your DNS server or something like that. Okay, say for example here you have a DNS server example. This is a DNS server. Okay, they are trying to reach this DNS server. Okay, so if you are having a DNS server which is something related to, they have come to know, the attacker has come to know about your DNS server, But if a attacker is trying to reach from external world to your DNS server for some specific purpose, okay, so some for with malicious intention, okay, if the port is enabled here at port 53, which is UDP port, then only it will allow. Even if uses TCP, it will be blocked. Even if it is a port 53 TCP, it will be blocked. Only port 53 UDP. If it is opened that port also to the external world, then only the traffic will be allowed. See, HTTP, someone is trying to browse. Okay, say for example DRDO. DRDO, so many projects they are doing. Okay, some research, defense related research they are doing. So example, this is a DRDO premises. Okay, they have internally so many websites. Example, which they have to access the data for all those things. 100% they are not letting anyone to access those websites from external. Okay, but for internally they are using port 80 and 443 for communicating. With this machine is trying to access some web server here or here somewhere it is there, okay, to see what is the current status of the project or something like that, okay, or procurement of the material or something like that, okay. So they want to see the employees, okay, or some management or someone, okay. So that time it is good, well and good, they were able to access it. But from the firewall, if you are blocked, okay, TCP port 80 or TCP 443, if you have blocked it, even from the external someone tries to connect, even though he knows the URL of the web page, okay, he will be blocked here because port 80 and 443 is blocked here, okay. So just remember, so organization, you have so many devices, so many rules and regulations, so many softwares you will be installing here, so many softwares you might have installed here, means like kind of web servers, all those things, Apache or all those servers, right? So you must install some server software also inside any web server, okay. So you have installed a lot of things in them. So how you are going to monitor, okay. So some of like a firewall engineer has by mistakenly here he has enabled this port in DRDO. It is a very danger, right? People from external world are able to access the defense related website and their content. So you should be very careful, someone should be monitoring. In that particular condition, what we'll do is we will be capturing the logs of this machine, this machine, this machine, this machine, this machine, this machine, every machine, okay. And we will be going to come to know about what's happening with those machines. Logs are always, remember, are the basis for our entire what I can say, analysis. Okay, without logs, you cannot do anything in any kind of security operation center environment. The first step is logs, then only remaining rest of the things. Okay, I would suggest you guys to be like more focus on understanding the logs, which we are going to do it in from today onwards. Okay, so web servers is just like where the hosting of the website happens. The websites like amazon.com, when you click on that, that particular web pages are available here, okay, not somewhere like externally, just they have kept it here, the server is connected directly to the internet. No, they are deep within the organization network, and this particular location, okay, all the people from the external are trying to connect to their web pages, okay, which are public facing, we say public facing. Public means you and me who can access these web pages are kept it in demilitarized zone, DMZ. This area is called as DMZ. This is called as private network. This is also private network. Why we need the people who are trying to access a website should not able to access any of the critical data. These are the location critical data is present, like here customer information server, Okay, here DNS server. Okay, here database is there. Here sales server. Okay, so if any person trying to access, okay, just www.amazon.com, he is not trying to log in or doing anything. He's trying to just access the web page. Okay, so the request will go to this web server, and the request will be, and the result will be displayed on his screen. Okay, like amazon.com, these are products are like that. Okay, but if he clicks on sign in, the request will go here. Okay, like from here, and you will get back the username and password entering screen here. Okay, once if you enter username and password, the request, now what it will do is it will go to the whether this particular user's request, okay, to be allowed or not. Okay, will be again checked by our firewalls, because okay, this is again port 80 443, but the request is for the new URL. Okay, something which is directly, it will be okay, you want to reach to this particular server. Okay, so it will go here, and your it will check your username and password is correct or not, then you will get the result that you are successfully logged in. Okay, kind of that particular web page. Just we'll say, we'll take it like that. Okay, now remember guys, one important point in any organization. Okay, all the public facing servers means like this, okay, are present in DMZ. The content, the critical data will be always there in private network, like the databases. Okay, some kind of like your sales servers or customer database or something like that. Okay, and also something like your active directory. And active directory means like who and all are logging in, who and all are logging out, and their privileges, everything will be given from here. Okay, using the active directory server. Okay, so also you I can give some more examples like say antivirus server. See, every time when you install some antivirus in any of the PCs, like say for example, this is like some floor PCs, like you and me who go and work right every day, not servers, normal machines are here. Okay, these machines also having some critical data, because you might be a sales guy, you might be a marketing guy, or you might be some kind of developer, your source code is there, you are a scientist or something like that, you are creating some formula. Okay, so your machine should also be secured, right? Okay, so for that what you'll do, you will install some antivirus, correct, right? So there's antivirus, you cannot, like if you have 1 lakh machines in your organization, you cannot go to say company like Infosys or TCS or Wipro or something like that, CTS. You have to, like hundreds and hundreds of thousands of employees will be there in those locations. You cannot go to each and every machine for installing antivirus or installing operating system or something like that. So that's why you have AV management softwares available. Like if you buy, um, say for example, if your company is using Norton antivirus, okay, so they'll having Norton related what do you say, semantic enterprise security solutions will be there. Okay, semantic enterprise security. Okay, if you are having some Sophos, then Sophos enterprise security will be there. Just you will install on one of the server here, we call them as AV server, and you will come to know that like which machine you want to connect, and you want to install that particular antivirus directly by sitting on this machine. You can install it by connecting from this machine to this machine. You can directly install, you can install, update, delete, or uninstall. All these things you can do by selecting, by sitting from this particular machine or accessing through this machine. Okay, so remember, if this gets compromised, you can compromise all these machines. Am I correct, right? So that is the reason we don't have this AV machine here. That's why we kept it in more secure private location. So that is the reason we have when at the beginning our first or second class we discussed about the when we were discussing about the security related things. um, you are more focusing on the controls, who should access which data until what extent. Okay, so a salesperson can only be able to access customer data or sales data. He won't have access for the DNS who is sitting here. Okay, and an IT admin sitting here should be able to access the Active Directory or some I mean like antivirus or like this kind of system. He don't have any access of any other systems. So you will be like privileges and everything. You will be like uh, giving to the only right people to access the right data. Any doubts still here before we get into the uh, Splunk related aspects? Any doubt till here? You can directly tell now so that I can repeat it again. No doubts, guys. Srikant. Okay. Okay, let's move. Okay, so just remember, let us. Okay, now what we are doing is we are collecting this, and as I said, here you have one more thing called as, here you have, right? This is like IPS. Like from here itself, all the logs that are coming in and going out are passing through here, right? Through switch, right? Here you have created one span port. Span port, what it does is this packet data, this packet data, this packet data, this packet data will take each and every traffic that is going through these ports, right? Okay, from these ports, every packet, one copy will be sent to one machine. Okay, one machine, and then that particular machine, we are installing some software called as Suricata or Snort software. Okay, we are not learning them, but we are just understanding them. Okay, so one copy of them will be sent here, and using them we have installed something called as this particular software on this machine. And this software, what it does is it will check from the incoming traffic and outgoing traffic which is passing through this switch, which and all traffic are suspicious based on signature. Signature is like, oh, the URL which is looking to be more suspicious, the IP which is looking to be suspicious, this particular format of the data is looking to be suspicious. Okay, so it will tell that whether the packet is suspicious or not, which Snort or Suricat softwares, which are nothing but the IPS, IDS or IPS. IDS means intrusion detection system. If any packet matches to list of, here he will be holding a list of table of signatures. Okay, if a packet matches to any of these signatures, any one of these signatures or multiple signatures within the list, then it immediately tells us by IDS. Okay, if your company is more sophisticated, okay, so much so sophisticated, they are 100%, they want to, as soon as when they come to know that, if based on the signature, if they come to know about any suspicious traffic, what they will do is they will try to block. Okay, that is called as prevention. Okay, detection system. Prevention system. Intruder means attacker. Okay, intrusion detection system, intruder prevention system. Prevention is little advanced, and detection is just I want the main functionality of the IPS, I mean IDS. Okay, IPS usually people don't what do you say, try to use them. Okay, until unless they want, they are very much confident about that particular uh, like attack or anything. So they'll tend to be like falling in line with only intruder detection systems itself. We will see all those logs as well. Okay. um, and web server logs, as I said, you will be having different kinds of web server logs that are currently available within the like kind of like let me show you by taking one example. I'm trying to access some web page now. Let me first open this. Okay, let it be here itself. I think Splunk is running. That is the reason. No, maybe for the first time. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. What's your query? I'm not able. It's not audible. Guys, am I audible to you? Anyone, Srikanth or anyone? Okay, okay, okay. So here is the some kind of tool which right click and inspect and click on network, which you can see the packets, okay, which is going out of this particular application layer packets you can see. Okay, now what I'll do is flipkart.com https colon forward slash forward slash. Okay, so flipkart.com website, I am trying to open it. Let us see. Okay, whether I will be able to capture it or not. Oh, sorry guys, I have last time I was using some sort of software called as proxy. So that is the reason. Okay, I am not able to network settings. Okay, no proxy. Yeah. Okay, now it will work. Okay, now you see this. Okay, this is the web page which I have requested. Okay, if you see my request is www.flipkart.com. I want to get the home page. Forward slash is a home page, right? So I am trying to access that particular web page. So now if you see here, I have something called as Nginx server. Nginx server, this is one server type. Now let us see which server the amazon.com is using. Okay, okay, the response, they have kept it as just a server. They did not mention as, oh, I'm using Nginx server, because security reasons they are not letting us know. Okay, let us see some other web server. Say for example, uh, say government. Okay, let us see. Okay, this server is NIC server something. I don't know what is NIC, frankly. Some server is NIC. Okay, they have named it as NIC, I guess. Okay, and one more website we will see. um, Forces.com. Oh, Infosys.com. um, Anywhere server tag is there, server banner? No. So these are called as banners, means you can uh, you will come to know that, okay, what servers the other companies are actually using. Okay, this is Apache. See this. Okay, these are all called as server banner. Okay, banner means what I'm using, they are letting know. Okay, so if you say, if you take microsoft.com. Okay, uh, oh, I have to use dot. Okay, microsoft.com. Let us see they have any server tag. Okay, they don't have any server tags. Let me go back here. Okay, here do they have any server tag? Anywhere server tag is there? No server tag here. Okay. Some companies they don't put server tags because it's like the server is sending the response back to you, right? So it's their wish whether they want to show you uh, some server name or not. Okay. So every company will have a server where these web pages are hosted. Okay. So that particular thing you have to, like, your development team is also monitoring, some IT teams are also monitoring, and everyone is doing their job. But as our responsibility also to see what kind of servers we have, right? Those things, the logs we have to see, and we have to come to a conclusion that okay, this looks to be something suspicious, this request whatever I'm getting is not allowed, this looks to be, this URL looks to be something suspicious. So based on that, IPS also is looking at this data and coming to know that oh, this looks to be suspicious, right? I will try to, I have detected this. Okay, this is the information that he is trying to do some cross-site scripting attack. He's trying to do some brute force attack. He's trying to do some SQL injection attack. So some of the attacks which you don't know now, I'll be explaining it in later because we just have to cope up with our timelines. So we are moving ahead with the Splunk. Okay, now. Okay, so those things you have to at any cost monitor. Okay, from whether those teams are also working in the correct way or not. To keep an eye on that, you need to have security operations center, whether it is a firewall team they are working perfectly or not. You just have at a higher level, you need to have some kind of checkings in place. Okay, so web servers, Active Directory, antivirus, database servers, web servers, okay, firewalls, IDS, IPS, all these logs we are going to learn. Okay, so things to be remembered after this. Okay, once after you come to know that all these logs we have to capture on our machines. Okay, so now first, I would like to clarify one thing. I will be giving you, providing you the logs, okay, which is required for your analysis. Okay, you are not admin. Splunk admin is totally different, and Splunk SOC analysis is totally different. Admin is like normal IT admin kind of thing. They know like what is meant by what is installation of them, how to increase the, how to add a user, how to remove a user's permission. All these things are like some software, whichever it is there, that particular software administrator. Okay, we are not Splunk admins. Just keep it in mind. We will be focusing on only on logs. Okay, we are analyst. Okay, just remember that. Okay, and when I provide the logs to you guys, okay, just use them and start working on them. Okay, and we'll be focusing on web server logs. Okay, firewall logs, IDS, IPS. This is next gen firewall means it will be working as your WAF and normal firewall both. Okay. Yeah, 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 correct, correct. Yeah, 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 we'll be doing. And IDS and IPS is used for checking the IP packets, okay, then TCP packets, okay, all IP packet, TCP packets, any traffic and any other like your DNS, GNS, everything, application layer related protocols also will be monitored here. Okay, then antivirus logs will be checking. Okay, then also we'll be like going through, say, for example, database. Database logs also will monitor. Windows logs, Linux or Unix or anything you can say. Okay, all these log sources we'll be going to discuss. Maybe one or two I might have missed here, but overall organization level, whatever we have, right, all those things will be monitored. Let me check whether I have these slides to kick off in my drive. Else we can directly start with okay, security essentials. Yes, I think. Okay. Okay, some of the contents which I have for very advanced things I have written, you guys can actually ignore them because it is like not useful for you guys. And more even I wasn't refined this content earlier, so which are required those things only now I'll be sharing in this particular batch because instead of okay, okay, because unnecessarily I've given like a lot of time for virtualization, all these things, which was not at all required for us. Okay, these things I have actually written on my own. When I share these materials to you guys, there might be like a lot of spelling mistakes will be there. You have to bear with that. Okay, you have to get adjusted with that. Mm, because the typo errors, because I have less time and I have to write a lot of things, so I might have not okay fix them at all. Okay, but once after you what do you say, you can go through this material as well instead of like that material which I have given earlier. Okay, all these things I have actually discussed with you guys. You need not to worry about any of those. Guys, let me take this call. Give me a minute of time. Okay, sorry guys. Okay, let me move this. Okay, so where we are, I want. Okay, let me show this particular thing. Okay, so first of all, you have a lot of assets you might be having in your organization. Okay, if any attacker tries to compromise any of the systems, okay, you might be knowing some kind of alerts it will be generated. Say for example, here one example is IDS. Okay, as soon as an alert arises from the IDS, okay, from the security operation point of view, you will receive an alert from your any of the tools like you will receive any a mail, or you receive any paging message or a call, paging call. Okay, means like normal call or a normal SMS or whichever it is configured, or you might be like some kind of what do you say, ticketing system, people who are monitoring will be like coming to know. Okay, any one of those things, whichever your company follows, we'll discuss about them later. But as soon as when that alert comes, the SOC analyst has to start whether the attack is really in progress or not. First of all, okay, if it is really attack is in progress, how you do investigation. What source you have something called as IDS logs you'll take, and you see some kind of IP addresses and what kind of signature in the IDS, and then you see like what kind of attack it is actually, and then whether any of other devices are compromised or with this similar kind of signature, and from this particular source, from when the attack is actually really started, and is there any attack traffic from the same attacker, means from this source, from same attacker, means source or attacker you can say, within like 1 month of time, or like 15 days of time, or 1 week of time, like that. First you check for 1 week, then after that 15 days, and then after that 1 month, and then you will come to a conclusion that okay boss, there is a attack happened. Okay, then you will tell your firewall team to just to block that particular traffic from that particular IP. Okay, all those things you will be telling. Okay, so this is what in a high level the SOC team uh, does. Okay, correct, right? So always attacks are not pointed to not only web servers, but sometimes the attackers, what they do is they will try to break into the firewall also. Okay, or they try to break into the IDS and IPS. What is there? What if he compromises the IDS, and if he compromises the IDS, and if he removes all the signatures which are there in that particular IDS, so that every traffic whatever it is passing through is like genuine traffic. Okay, so the SOC team will never come to know. So you will think that everything is working fine. So that is very dangerous. That's the reason, even if someone is trying to log in, whoever is logging into the IPS, IDS or firewalls, that also you'll be going to monitor, not only the traffic, who are actually logging into the IDS and IPS, that also you are going to monitor, being a security engineer, being a security analyst. Okay, any questions till now, every one of you? No questions? No questions, guys? Okay, then we'll move ahead. Okay, let me go back here. Oh God, guys, am I audible? Okay, guys, am I audible? Guys, oh, okay, guys, am I audible? Guys, am I audible? Okay, am I audible now? Guys, am I audible? Oh, oh, okay. pause this video. Okay, so let's start with web server logs. Okay, so before to that also one more point I would like to clear. Okay, so I would like to give some information here when it comes to the sim home. Yeah, this is the machine in your organization. Just I'm representing it like this. Okay, and you have a Splunk server. Okay, and the logs, whatever being a SOC team, you have to view it on your monitor. This is different machine. This is machine 1 and this is machine 2. Okay, these are machine X1, machine X2, machine X3, like that so many machines will be there. All those things has to send the data to where? Splunk server. Okay, okay, Splunk server. Okay, this Splunk server name called as Splunk indexer, where logs are getting stored. Okay, do you have only one Splunk server? No, you can have multiple Splunk servers also. Okay, why you need to have multiple Splunk server? So this machine is sending logs to this and also to this. Okay, this machine is sending logs to this and also logs to this. This machine is sending logs to this and also to this. If this machine is sending logs to this and also okay to this something. So what you can achieve here, guys, what you can achieve here. Hmm? What you can achieve? Placing them in different. This is in US. So for example, this is in India and this is in um, say for example um, this is in Singapore. Okay, what you can achieve? So just think that, okay, say, or you can think that, okay, uh, so this only I'll keep three, okay, sending here and as well as here, and this is also. So every machine is sending to three different Splunk, what do you say, servers, the same data. What you can achieve with that if you do that? If any one particular site goes down, okay, one particular site means location, okay, goes down, you have backup of two more locations also. Got it right, guys? Am I correct or not? Okay, so for redundancy, you'll be keeping the multiple copies of the data. Okay, and one more thing, okay, not only that, okay, imagine if a specific task, say for example, you have uh, some sandbag is there, okay, in that gold ring is placed, okay, and you have a person to search for that gold ring. Okay, one person is standing, I mean, like he has to search it. If it takes, okay, for one person to search, like this is 10 kg of sand, each kg to search it takes 1 minute. How much time it will take to search the complete, like hypothetical way, it takes 10 kg. 10 kg to search, 10 minutes it will take. Correct, right? Okay. So what if, okay, you have, okay, 10 people, okay, and everyone they start searching at the same amount of time, the data is the same. So how much time it takes? Just 1 minute. Okay. The same way, what it will do is, between, you will be like, data after receiving, people like me and you who are sitting here, okay, say for example, I want to search the logs of last 10 days of firewall logs. Okay, so first 3 days, 3.33 days logs here, 3.33 day logs here, 3.33 day logs here. So say for example, if it is from date, 10 days logs, right? 1 to 10th, you might have said is, okay. So first 3.3 days from here, 3.3 days, 3.3 days, then all those logs, whatever you have searched, will be searched, and whatever data you are asking will be displayed here within the 1 by third amount of time itself, rather than like sending request to only this thing, waiting for this search. If it takes maybe like 10 minutes, okay, normally, okay, when you search for one machine itself, so within 3.3 minutes you got the result, because you have shared the burden of those things. Okay, usually Splunk architecture will be like this. Okay, so when you send a request, you have to communicate here, because you are a user, Splunk user, and you are the other side. These are the machines which are forwarding the logs, like web servers, okay, firewalls, all those things are these machines, left side. And you are a SOC analyst, right? You are right side. And in between, you have the data which is stored from these machines. Is it clear, every one of you? Guys, every one of you, is it clear? Okay, okay. Now, so once after getting this data till here, okay, now you have something called as, okay, this particular part, how you are going to access that data and how you are going to extract the data, someone should be there. Okay, so search manager, just as a layman condition, just think he's a search manager. All your requests, whatever, like, being a user, whatever you try to give in this Splunk console, Splunk user console, or user GUI, or whatever it is, the request will go to the search manager. This is search request which you are. Search manager will know that how many, by default, how many databases, Splunk databases are there, and where the data is stored. So it will tell which and all indexes in an optimized way, in the less time, how I can, okay, where and all I can, and get the data back to the user will be calculated by this machine, and sends the request and get the results back, okay, and returns it to the end user, and it will displays here. What is that? It's a simple way I would like to show you guys. Okay, so index is equal to, okay, I have, first of all, this is a Splunk GUI console where you can write some queries. Splunk is what? It is an analytical tool, right? So for that you are having some sort of analytical, okay? Analytical means some some kind of, what do you say, analysis you are doing. So you don't want the entire data when you do analytics. Okay, any analytics, what it requires, you have some kind of database is there. Using that database, you want to extract some useful information that you can make some decisions out of it. Okay, so I would like to give you some real time inputs here for you guys here. Okay, If you go to any organization, this is a Splunk server, right? Okay, the Splunk servers are having, okay, some drives. Okay, say for example, some folders I can say. Okay, I would like to show you. This is my computer, correct, right? My computer is a Splunk server. Just remember, C drive and D drive are two different folder locations. Okay, correct, right? Whenever I want to go to the C drive, what I have to do? I have to give query of that particular thing. Think like that. Okay, what I'll do? Same way in Splunk, whatever the server, anywhere it is there, first I have to go to the C drive. Means indexer I have to go. Which indexer? C drive is indexer for me. Same way, okay, I've created some indexer. All my web server logs will be present. Okay, where it is. Okay, all my web server logs, okay, are present under this. If I go inside that, okay, my web server logs are here, right? Okay, in that some subfolders will be there. What it is, we will see it later. But more for all my web server logs, I have this. All my firewall logs are under this. All my what do you uh, say antivirus logs are here. Okay, all my similar kind of other E drive, F drive, G drive kind of drives will be there. Example, okay, in one server. Okay, so in some Splunk server, that indexer, those are called as indexes. What we call it as indexes. Okay, so now one such thing is web access is one index for me. Okay, what is this web index? Okay, all my web access logs are getting stored in this particular index. Okay, if you see, when I click index and click enter, I didn't get any results. I didn't get any results because I am asking something to the system and system is returning back with some no results. Okay, because you have to make sure, okay, analytical happens based on the timing. Which logs? Because logs means itself something happened on some machines, okay, and those machines have sent the logs to the server, and the history of the data is nothing but the logs here. So you have to tell that, okay, I have some logs which are very old. That means let me show you by keeping means like right from the day one when I started receiving the logs, web logs, till date, till date. Okay, all are these web server logs. See, logs looks like this. If I want to show it in the raw format, how I received it, it will be like this. Oh, sorry, it will be like this. These are the web server logs. These are the web server logs, guys. No need to worry about it. I will be explaining you guys each and everything about what is there in this particular event. Okay, now remember, this is one event, this is another event, and this is another event. Event means the action your web server has performed, okay, when a request comes. When a request comes, I got a request. For that, what response I have done? That to and fro things together as one event, one action. Means action in the sense one kind of transaction, or not transaction also I should say. It is one activity. Something. Someone asked you, hey, I want to add something to the cart here. Example. Okay. For that, what the decision it has taken, whether it is added or not by looking at the 200 OK message. Successfully it is added. Okay. So that kind of together, the request and responses will be there in the entire whatever the event. Okay. Some event, correct, right? January 1st is an event. On that day, something is happened. That particular information is there. January 2nd is an event. On that day, something happened, that particular event. Okay. Some actions which you have performed on a specific event. Okay. That is will be stored in the so this is actually a event log. Who has given this to us? Who has given this to us? We have a web server. Let me show you guys. I have a web server. This is a web server. Okay. Now I have clearly told you what I have told you. Person from external world tries to connect to our web server. Correct, right? In that he might be accessing some root folder like flipkart.com, or he might be accessing some like after logging in something like some product he might be selecting, or inside the product he might wants to add that to something cart or something like that. So many files will be there in that particular something he will be trying to access. Whenever this request is received at the event, and this request is received by the web server, okay, and he will be sending the response, right? This particular part, there is something called as some developers are create the developers will create something called as logging. Means log creation means if no one is keeping track of what your server has done, okay, then if any problem arises, not only I'm not talking about the SOC, normally any location, if no logs are there, it is very hard to identify the problem. And just by like, hey, I'm not able to access the web server now. Okay, so previous to that, what happened, everything to check that. Okay, you should be having some logging. This logging means, okay, it looks like this, some line of text, which includes, okay, time, okay, from where it has come, okay, to whom, okay, it went from where to whom, okay, and what they wanted, okay, and what your response means. This is request, and what's your response, okay, all these things in a simple text format, from what time, from where it has come, to whom it has come, what they've asked, what you have done, okay, or any other additional information in a plain text format, okay. Just whatever your system has done will be recorded in one file, in a text file, in some text file, okay, in some file, okay, like this. Next, some new transactions come, okay, and it has responded server, that will also be recorded like that. All incoming and outgoing together forms as like each event and getting stored here, okay, in this particular location. This is called as logging, okay. Once the logging happens here, okay, these developers will do, you need not to do anything, okay. Now these logs have to be forwarded to the, okay, to the Splunk server. Splunk server. Okay. So to send to the Splunk server, okay, how we are going to do it? Okay. So now the time is, let me just update the time. Okay. Guys, you take the break, then we will come to, I'll explain you guys what is indexer and everything in a proper realistic way. Okay, so you guys come back by 11:30 a.m. IST. That means after 30 minutes. Okay, after 32 minutes. So we'll catch you at after 32 minutes. Okay. Okay. So so this is about the log line, correct, right? What is a log and what is a or what is an event? Okay, so now we discussed about this particular thing, and now once the log gets generated on this particular machine, okay, they have to be shipped to some location. Okay, how you are going to ship it, because it is storing in this particular web server. How you can move this particular whatever the log, whatever these each and every event in real time to some different location. So that's why what you need is you need to install some agent or software inside it, okay, which will be intimated from our side that, oh, you take the logs which are getting generated here and send that to the Splunk. This is Splunk. Okay, there how you can send the logs, it is of two types. Remember, this is also an important question for the interview. One is agent based, and the second one is agentless. Not for us, but maybe they might ask. Okay, so first agent based means, okay, the logs which are getting generated right on that particular machine, okay, if you install any specific software like, okay, something called as Splunk. If you take a software which is analytical software to forward the logs, or a SIM also you can consider, okay, Splunk forwarder, okay, this is Splunk. You have something called as forwarder. If you take ArcSight, ArcSight, ARECH SIGHT, ArcSight, you have something called as connector. Okay, either you take this or you take this, or you have some other commercial, so many other uh, softwares will have some kind of agents. If you install those agents and tell them that where the log folder is present, okay, and tell which file you have to select and to where it has to be sent, that is to which Splunk or any SIM, okay, from where it to certain location where it has to be sent. You can use this or this, or if you are using Splunk, you have to use this. If you are using ArcSight, you have to use this. Same way, you will have different kinds of vendor SIM products and their softwares which are agents. Okay, so when in our case it is Splunk, we will be installing forwarder here. So if you see here, you have something. I have installed forwarder here. Okay, see Splunk forwarder service means my this particular Windows machine logs are sending to the what do you say, to this particular Splunk, whichever it is installed on my machine. Okay, so that is not required for us now. Okay, so just where I have installed Splunk forwarder here, that is called as an agent software. Okay, and after installing the agent software and telling that from where it will be start sending the logs from here to this Splunk. Okay, so directly you cannot send the logs to that particular machine. Okay, okay, after installing directly you cannot send to that particular machine. You have to mention, okay, which index it belongs to, means these logs belongs to which index. Okay, means you have a database and in that so many buckets are there. Okay, this is called as index. If you go for an organization, this index is belongs to the IT department, like network logs. Okay, how they can collect, say from router. Okay, this belongs to the security index, something firewall logs will be there. Okay, in very big organizations, okay, what they will do is for each one kind of device they might create one specific index also. This is for IPS, IPS. Okay, this is for this thing. Okay, something like that. Okay, example. And if it is very small company, they will have index is equal to some so and so thing, and they will be storing some different subfolders here. Okay, and one index you have multiple sources. Okay, I'll explain it in a minute. Okay, now what I said, you have a big bucket is there, in that small buckets are there. Okay, now let me show you something. Okay, network connection issue. Guys, are you able to see my screen? Okay, okay, let me check. See, index is a very big bucket. Okay, very big one. Okay, now I have test data is one of the bucket which I have created. Okay, all logs from different machines are sent to this big bucket. To this big bucket. Okay, if you see this particular thing, I'm getting the logs from various sources. Okay, TCP logs, some FGT means Fortinet, FortiGate traffic. Okay, then Suricart means IPS, IDS logs. All those things are here. Okay, let me show you some other one more bucket where I have collected some other logs also. Okay, some other department you consider other department. This is one department. This is one more department. Test data 1 was department. Set data 2 is another department. Test data 2 will have multiple firewalls, multiple IPS, multiple will be there. Departments will have different networks, right? So there they will be using different things. Okay. Let it get over. Yeah. Okay. Let us wait for some time. Let it get loaded. Okay. Stats count by source type. Let me check it. Okay. I just want to show you like how many types of this particular in our organization itself, one particular department, that is test data, just for our sake I have written something else. Okay, is actually holding so many data sources. Okay, so what this does, okay, there it is. Okay, so this is the Splunk server. Don't get confused. Okay, in Splunk server you have so many indexes. Okay, let me show you so many indexes I said. This Splunk server is only one, right? Which I have installed on my machine is only one. Correct, right? So simple. Okay. Now let me show you. Okay. Index. Okay. Star means I don't want to know. Star means all. Index, from every index, list me all the indexes in my Splunk server. List me all indexes in my Splunk server. These logs are now in my machine in some specific location. In my C drive, I have kept all these logs. All these tens of GBs of logs are there in my C drive because I collected and shipped those logs to my server. Where it is exactly? Okay, if you go here, program files, Splunk, etc. Okay, apps. Okay, if you see, uh, these are all my Splunk logs which are stored in my system. These are like different folders. These are all different indexes. These are all different indexes. Okay, or which are there in my machine. Okay, so now these are different indexes on my machine. Okay, see, I1 is one machine, mail server is one machine which I have created. Okay, SMTP is one machine, like that. So many are there. You will see like testy data one, all those things. So all those things are these buckets. Okay, where it is, yeah, here. These are the buckets. Okay, in them, okay, this is the Splunk server, and you will have indexes. Index is equal to index is equal to index is equal to index is equal to. Okay, so now, uh, mm, okay, now this is okay, fantastic. Okay, now, okay, where it has come or not first, let me check. Oh, okay, okay. In that, it is taking some time. Let me, okay, come on. In that particular index, I have one thing called as, if you see here, these are all index is equal to audit, index is equal to all these things, whatever you are seeing, right? Okay, see, all these are indexes. Testy data one, web access, the AWS test data, all are different indexes. In them, I'm selecting test e-data. I am selecting it. Okay, let it be. Test e-data, I have selected it. Okay, in that logs are there. Stats count means some, I'm just telling you which are different types of sources, means from where and all I'm collecting the logs. Okay, into this particular index. Okay, index means where all our log files are getting stored, from which locations I'm getting. Okay, that particular thing, source type. Okay, okay, so one I'll take it as here, test e data. Okay, in this I'll have, what are these things? Multiple will be there. Those are these source types. Stats count by. I will explain all these commands later, but for today I just want to make sure you are aware of what is meant by Splunk related, what do you say, index, source type, and how you are getting the logs. That particular thing I just want to make sure you guys are flexible. I mean, like, comfortable. I just as a pictorial representation, at least you should be aware. Okay, so let's wait for a second. Okay. So before to that, let us go through some other things as well. So this is about agent, means the logs will be forwarded from this particular machine, okay, to this particular Splunk. Okay. But the problem is there. Some IT, some systems, okay, some IT teams are very much particular about that. They doesn't want to allow any other third party software to be installed on their machines. Okay, on their machines. So what should they do now? Okay, so that's the reason you have something called as, okay, service account. Okay, service account. Any server will have a service account. Okay, what you will do? Go here. More manage. I think manage only, right? Okay, account. Yeah, let me check this. Okay, account, user accounts. Yeah, user accounts. Okay, you can actually create one account, correct, right? Okay, manage another account. Okay, add another account. I Okay, just click on this. Okay, now this whatever the account you are creating, right? But whereas in Windows machine it will be like this. Okay, but in servers you can create something called as service account. Service account. I don't know whether in Windows 10 it will be available or not. I am not sure about that. Okay, service account. Okay, now this service account, okay, you will create this whichever the service here, right? This username and password whatever you are created, okay, you will be giving it here on this web server you will be giving it here. Okay, you will give authorization, okay, to this server to go and connect to this machine and pull the logs from this particular folder. Okay, occasionally, in a sense, maybe every 5 minutes once, or 3 minutes once, or 2 minutes once, or something like that. Some timestamp you give, and every that particular moment it will go and pull all the logs till date which are available here to this particular machine. Okay, to this particular machine. Okay, this, did you install any agent here now? No. Okay, Splunk only going and pulling the logs from that location and storing it here in the index. This is called as, okay, agentless. Okay, if someone asks you in the interview, okay, what is meant by agent based, means you should give the first example where you are installing the Splunk forwarder and sending the logs to the Splunk server, okay, where the indexes are present. Okay, agentless means, okay, creating the service account, okay, and configuring the service account in the Splunk. Config service account of this particular machine. Service account means username and password only. Okay, the only difference between normal account and the service account means no expiry for service account. Our office usernames and passwords, whatever they create, right? Whatever we create, right? Every 90 days or 30 days or 120 days or 180 days, it will have some expiry. Correct, right? But service account, no expiry at all. Because if all of a sudden when we have to pull the logs, if the account gets expired, then you won't be in a position to log in, and there might be some attack might be happening. You won't be able to pull those logs, so you will be under like attack, and you are not even aware of that. Okay, so that kind of issues will come. So service accounts you have to use which doesn't have any expiry, no expiry for the service account. Okay, got it? Okay. Now, so in once if you have created one service account here on this machine, the service account you will be creating the configuration here. So you will create in such a way that this will go and pull those logs from there. Okay, pull those logs from there and update in the same way however it happens here in the index. That's it. Here this software will forward it. Here you will go and fetch them. Okay, so this is why agent based is called as push based forwarding logs. Okay, push based log forwarding. Okay, forwarding log or log. Okay, pull. This is agentless, right? We are pulling from our Splunk machine and we are pulling the logs from the logs from wherever we are collecting from that particular. It can be any system. Okay, that is called as pull forwarding. Okay, okay. This is pull based. Okay, no forwarding. This is pull mechanism. It's forwarding mechanism. Yes, Samdani, tell me. ArcSight. No, everywhere it is there. No, 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 it is not like that. Everywhere, wherever you are installing, there also ArcSight also you are putting the connector. Correct, right? That is push. Okay. Even ArcSight also without installing connector. Okay. Without installing like Splunk, when it comes, it is forwarder. Still you can. Okay. Still you can get that by using something called as okay the agentless, that is called as like creating the service account. That time you need not to create anything, you just tell from which folder it has to fetch. If the folder has given permissions and all, the software here in the Splunk is written in such a way that whichever the folder you are mentioning, it will go and connect with that particular machine, starts pulling logs from there. That's it. Okay, so you need not to install, but this is a burden, right? And you won't get this delay is also there. Here all real time. Here no real time. Some delay is coming. 5 minutes or 3 minutes or 2 minutes kind of delay will come because some time interval it will go and fetch it. It doesn't do continuously. Okay, and here you will have like all like everything happens immediately. Okay, so here it is a time consuming. Okay, so that is the thing. Okay, so now, okay, so is this clear first of all for every one of you? Huh? Everyone, is it clear? Naresh? Okay, no, see, you have some Windows or Linux server or something, some machine is there, some firewall or anyone, anything, any software is there, any server or any device is there, correct, right? Any machine is there. Okay, in that particular machine, okay, if you are using any sim tool, I don't say Splunk or anything, just a generic way I'm telling. Okay, any sim tool is there. If you install this system's child software, something called as agent, this is also from this company only. Okay, if you install that particular system, agent, some small software here, and tell from which location it has to pull the logs, okay, and where it has to send is configured here, okay, on this particular machine, it will send that logs to that particular index in our Splunk server. Got it? This is called as you are forwarding. Correct, right? Yes. Okay. So this is your forwarding. Okay. You are pushing. You are pushing from your machine to Splunk server. You are pushing. Correct, right? This is push mechanism. Means from the source to the destination, you are pushing the logs. Okay. If you take, okay, one more machine. Okay. Okay. Now, some IT people, they say that we don't allow any other software, third party softwares to install on our machines. Okay. So that time what you'll ask them is, okay, sir, no problem. Okay. You do one thing. Let's your folder, let's your machine will have the logs. Okay. Only one favor you do me. Don't install anything. Just install, okay, some service account. Okay. This service account, it's like your username or password kind of to log in into this machine. To log in into this machine. Okay. Got it right? Okay. This service account, you will be giving credentials configured here on this some software is here, and all that username and passwords are given here of this particular machine. What it does is, and you have told that every 3 minutes or 5 minutes or 2 minutes something, you have told this one to go with this username and password and log in into that machine automatically, fetch the logs, pull the logs and store it into this index. So now what you are doing, you are pulling the logs, correct, right? You are going and bringing, you didn't install any software, no agent, agent less, no agent. This is called as, okay, pull mechanism. Now is it clear? No, Naresh? Okay. So this is called as pull mechanism and this is called as push mechanism. Okay. Now that is wonderful. Okay. Now you are telling that you are pulling the logs from here and you are sending it to some server. Okay. Okay. But what I want is the logs, whatever you are sending and which are getting received here to the server. Okay. Is there anything we can do? Is there anything we can do? Sometimes before you store it onto this particular machine, okay, before you store it onto this machine, whatever the logs you are receiving or whatever the logs you are pulling, once after coming, before it comes here, okay, what you will do is you will be adding, okay, removing, okay, altering, okay, altering of this log, whatever you are receiving, right? Each you will be getting in the form of logs only, right? Each log, whatever the log text is there, right? In that, say for example, timestamp. Timestamp means this is, mm, okay, this is the list, I'll keep it. Okay, so this is the timestamp. See, you are getting it right. This is the timestamp. Okay, this timestamp, okay, might not be there in the log file here, not here, here when it is getting created. So you will be adding that particular thing. Okay, you will be adding that particular thing. You might be adding that, my line might not be there, so that is called as adding. Okay, sometimes, okay, you might be required to remove some unnecessary things because you don't want to give burden to your Splunk server. So some information of the log you will be deleting it from whichever the source when it is sending it, right? Once if you get the log line, what you are doing is you are chopping some parts or you are altering some parts or you are modifying some parts. Okay, example, credit card information is coming here on this particular web server. So can you store that credit card number, everything like that in the Splunk database? No. So it will be like this, right? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 9, something is there. So what you will do is you will be keeping all those things like that. Okay, last three digits you will keep 4, 3, 2, something like that. Okay, so you remaining letters you will keep XXXX. Okay, so what you have done? You have done altering of the log. Okay, and what you have done? You have done the sometimes some logs which are not required, some not log, some log portion is not required, so that particular information you will be removing, deleting. So this entire kind of thing is called as parsing. Okay, when you receive some log, okay, adding some information or removing some information or altering some information of the event. This is an event which it will have timestamp, from which source it has come, so to which destination it went, okay, to which say for example some source. Normally you don't even know like from which machine you received it. Okay, in the logs, why you need when a log is getting generated on this machine. Okay, so this machine, why it will keep its own IP address in the log, but when it went received here, automatically our machine will be keeping from which machine you have received this log. That particular IP address you will be putting, that is called as src underscore pins, source IP address you will keep it. Got it right? From which machine you have received it. Got it right? So that kind of informations, like adding, removing, deleting, all these things working on the logs, okay, which Splunk or any other SIM tool works, right? That is called as parsing. That is called as parsing. Okay. So this is called as parsing. What else we have? So push we have discussed, pull we have discussed, parsing we have discussed. Okay, so whatever the logs you see here on your Splunk is called as parsed logs. Okay, and Splunk has actually, parsing means enriching means like from format whichever it is not useful for you to making it more useful for you. Okay, means like what you'll do, I mean like when you um, okay buy, I mean when you buy what do you say, a pineapple. Okay, pineapple is a fruit. Do you eat everything? No. What you'll do, okay, you will chop something, which is like you will cut the front and back. Okay, I mean like then after that you chop the remaining other, the top layer, and you get the fruit. For that also you again cut into the pieces and then you'll take it. Correct, right? So that's how you eat. So the same thing, the logic will be applied. Lot many things need to be removed, some things needs to be altered. Okay, you buy a cloth, what you do when you buy a cloth, when you have to get it stitched, you got the cloth, but the same cloth you need it, but to make it as a dress, okay, you remove the unnecessary parts and you stitch somewhere and you wore it. Okay, so that it looks, I mean it will be good for you. Still you can use it, you can wrap it, but it is not good for you. Correct, right? So the same thing it applies. Okay, so parsing is nothing but adding some context, like if you take a cloth you put some buttons, okay, some labels or something like that, right? So all those things is nothing but like adding kind of thing. Removing means like extra pieces of cloth, cutting it. Altering means like stitching it according to your this thing. Okay, so this is about the parsing. Okay, so guys, uh, is it like okay, or we'll stop it for today and tomorrow we'll continue remaining? Hmm? Srikant or anyone? Guys, you are there? We'll continue or we'll stop it today? Tomorrow we'll jump into the logs, weblogs. Huh? Hmm? Okay, right, guys? Okay, fine. Uh, Fine then. We'll do it tomorrow. Okay. So take care, guys. See you tomorrow. Huh? Okay.